We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. Educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. No great mind has ever existed without a touch of madness. Excellence is never an accident. It is always the result of high intention, sincere effort, and intelligent execution. It represents the wise choice of many alternatives. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny. Happiness is the meaning and the purpose of life, the whole aim and end of human existence. It is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. Anybody can become angry, that is easy, but to be angry with the right person and to the right degree and at the right time and for the right purpose, and in the right way, that is not within everybody's power and is not easy. You will never do anything in this world without courage. It is the greatest quality of the mind next to honor. Those who educate children well are more to be honored than they who produce them, for these only gave them life, those the art of living well. Suffering becomes beautiful when anyone bears great calamities with cheerfulness, not through insensibility but through greatness of mind. Wishing to be friends is quick work, but friendship is a slow ripening fruit. All human actions have one or more of these 7 causes: chance, nature, compulsions, habit, reason, passion, desire. We become just by performing just action, temperate by performing temperate actions, brave by performing brave action. He who is to be a good ruler must have first been ruled. Every art and every inquiry, and similarly every action and choice, is thought to aim at some good, and for this reason the good has rightly been declared to be that at which all things aim. I have gained this from philosophy, that I do without being commanded what others do only from fear of the law. The virtue of justice consists in moderation, as regulated by wisdom. Poetry is finer and more philosophical than history, for poetry expresses the universal, and history only the particular. In making a speech one must study 3 points: first, the means of producing persuasion; second, the language; third, the proper arrangement of the various parts of the speech. Therefore, the good of man must be the end of the science of politics. The state comes into existence for the sake of life and continues to exist for the sake of good life. We are not angry with people we fear or respect. As long as we fear or respect them, you cannot be afraid of a person and also at the same time angry with him. Inferiors revolt in order that they may be equal, and equals that they may be superior. Such is the state of mind which creates revolutions. Law is mind without reason. Nature does nothing in vain. Misfortune shows those who are not really friends. All men by nature desire knowledge. Men are swayed more by fear than by reverence. He who can be, and therefore is, another's, and he who participates in reason enough to apprehend, but not to have, is a slave by nature. Excellence, then, is a state concerned with choice, lying in a mean, relative to us, this being determined by reason and in the way in which the man of practical wisdom would determine it. For as the eyes of bats are to the blaze of day, so is the reason in our soul to the things which are by nature most evident of all. We praise a man who feels angry on the right grounds and against the right persons and also in the right manner at the right moment and for the right length of time. Our judgments when we are pleased and friendly are not the same as when we are pained and hostile. Different men seek after happiness in different ways and by different means, and so make for themselves different modes of life and forms of government. A tragedy is a representation of an action that is whole and complete and of a certain magnitude. A whole is what has a beginning and middle and end. The moral virtues, then, are produced in us neither by nature nor against nature. Nature, indeed, prepares in us the ground for their reception, but their complete formation is the product of habit. Long-lived persons have one or two lines which extend through the whole hand. Short-lived persons have two lines not extending through the whole hand. It is during our darkest moments that we must focus to see the light. The best friend is the man who in wishing me well wishes it for my sake. The roots of education are bitter, but the fruit is sweet. Happiness is an expression of the soul in considered actions. The worst form of inequality is to try to make unequal things equal. Happiness does not lie in amusement. It would be strange if one were to take trouble and suffer hardship all one's life in order to amuse oneself. Pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work. Equality consists in the same treatment of similar persons. Whatsoever that be within us that feels, thinks, desires, and animates, is something celestial, divine, and, consequently, imperishable. I count him braver who overcomes his desires than him who conquers his enemies, for the hardest victory is over self. The aim of the wise is to not secure pleasure, but to avoid pain. The ideal man bears the accidents of life with dignity and grace, making the best of circumstances. The high-minded man must care more for the truth than for what people think. It is easy to perform a good action, but not easy to acquire a settled habit of performing such actions. It is possible to fail in many ways, while to succeed is possible only in one way. It is not enough to win a war, it is more important to organize the peace. He who cannot be a good follower cannot be a good leader. All persons ought to endeavor to follow what is right, and not what is established. We acquire a particular quality by acting in a particular way. The virtue of justice consists in moderation, as regulated by wisdom. For the things we have to learn before we can do them, we learn by doing them. Wicked men obey from fear, good men, from love. Dignity does not consist in possessing honors, but in deserving them. To avoid criticism, say nothing, do nothing, be nothing. To be conscious that we are perceiving or thinking is to be conscious of our own existence. The quality of life is determined by its activities. Life is a gift of nature, but beautiful living is the gift of wisdom.